Welcome back. Yesterday, there was a very important SANDAG meeting. The topics of discussion were economic uncertainty and the impacts on major corridor projects that will cost a total of more than $16 billion. So here to tell us more is SANDAG board member and the mayor of Del Mar, Terry Gasterlin. Terry, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
These are really important topics. These are the kind of meetings that, maybe the average person in the public doesn't attend, but what's discussed is really important because it affects all of us here throughout the county. So what was kind of the key takeaway about how much these projects are going to cost and how much funding is available currently to SANDAG?
Yes, and what the economic outlook is as well. So we started there yesterday and learned that inflation this month over same month last year has been holding steady at 4%. So that's a new cost. And tariffs, we don't know what's going to happen with that. So if we ask the question, how much money do we have in hand, so allocated and available for the $16.1 billion of total active projects at SANDAG right now? The answer is $9.3 billion. So that's 58%. Yesterday's discussion was Mario Orso, the executive director, coming to the board and saying, what are your priorities in your region? Should we be thinking sub-regionally? Should we be thinking about connecting regions? What do we need to do? And it was an open discussion for an hour and a half.
So how do you all, as board members representing very different parts of the county, how do you all come to that conclusion, I guess, of what is the priority or what projects should be prioritized?
Yeah, well, we listened to each other and we thought about what each other said, and when we agreed, we echoed that, and when we had something new to add, we said that too. So Rebecca Jones of San Marcos started out, and she pointed out that safety, wildfire evacuation times, getting from East County places that may be vulnerable and at risk out westward, those east-west corridors, that's a top priority. Another top priority, focus on highly congested spots. 78 in the I-5 intersection, for example, is a mess overall most of the time. That is part of an I-78 or a SR-78 corridor. And stop waiting for the money to be able to do the whole thing. Do the pieces that we have the money to do. So that's the new way of thinking.
Okay, and how does this differ from maybe challenges that you guys have faced in the past? It sounds like this may be one of the bigger things you've been faced with when it comes to funding these projects.
The way that these projects unfold is you have a project that has a big scope and it's designed, and then it goes through environmental review, and then you try to start raising the construction funding through federal grants and state grants. And all of the fundraising happens in parallel. And what this change is saying, well, we have the whole thing, it's designed, we're doing the environmental review, but let's break it into pieces. Let's construct this piece of this project and that piece of that project, which is a completely different way of thinking, believe it or not.
I do think it helps, tackle what you guys are facing, though, head on. And, before we let you go, maybe you could just give us an idea of what's next. This is obviously a very important discussion that you all had yesterday, and probably just the beginning of more important discussions. So what comes next? And I guess, is there a way also for the public to weigh in at all, or to be a part of these discussions?
Well, we'll want the public to weigh in at every step of the way. Next for the board is to establish the regional transportation plan with a vision through 2035. And that's going to be important, and we're going to be doing that now kind of in this new context of how do we take a project and put it into pieces. What I think is most important that came out of yesterday was people listening to each other and realizing South County is different from North County. We need more transit nearer to the border. We need more feeder lines and microtransit going into trolleys. Mayor Sanchez from Oceanside pointed out equity for that last mile at the beginning and the end of a trolley line is so important. So everybody brought forward things that we all agree are important and that we realize have different levels of importance in the different cities. So I think Mario opened up a new way of discussing how we're going to really build things going forward.
Wonderful. Well, Mayor Gasterland, as always, thanks for being here, kind of breaking down those, what I know can be very lengthy discussions for us. We really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.